Ladies and gentlemen, the stream is live. This is the Libertarian Leadership Academy candidate stream. We do this every single day, meeting up with fantastic candidates. Today we are here with Ken Krawchuk, the LP candidate for governor of Pennsylvania. And a governor's campaign is no small feat. And stepping up to the plate in a situation like this takes a certain kind of crazy. But as I love, the crazy, that's got the tenacity, it's got the just almost audacity in there as well to run. But Pennsylvania wants to see it. At least the liberty lovers there want to see Ken Krawchuk for governor. So where do you come from, Ken? Like, what's your background like? What do you love? Tell us a bit about yourself. How you found yourself running for candidate or governor ultimately.
Well, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to be here. Personally, I'm an IT guy. I started out as a COBOL programmer at the age of 17, and I'm still heavily involved in IT. I hold 3 United States patents related to database theory, so if you're a geek, maybe we can compare notes. I have several novels out there. Probably the most interesting one is Atlas Snubbed, a parody sequel to Ayn Rand's Atlas Shrugged. I'm also a professional public speaker. There are people who pay me to speak, and I know people who pay me to shut up. I love whitewater canoeing. Every March, I spend a week on the Appalachian Trail. I've been doing it since college, over 50 years worth. I've missed 2 years in all that time. And a month ago right now, I was out on the Appalachian Trail near the Lehigh Tunnel in Pennsylvania Turnpike. I could go on and on. Married to my first wife. We got 3 kids, 4 grandkids so far. And our kids pick on us. They say, all of our friends' parents are divorced and separated. What's wrong with you guys? But most importantly, I'm a Toastmaster. It changed my life. I used to get asthma attacks when I tried to speak in public, and those days are gone forever. I highly recommend Toastmaster. Yeah. You could have the best message on the planet.
Highly recommended from us at the Libertarian Leadership Academy. I haven't personally gone through Toastmaster, but I know that Michael Pickens has, and he's very outspoken about how much he learned from Toastmaster. So,
Agreed.
But anyway, didn't mean to cut you off. Please continue.
No, that's all right. Well, I was going to say you could have the best message on the planet, but it's useless if you can't communicate it effectively or orchestrate its distribution. And that's what Toastmasters has done for me. It led me to candidate for governor of Pennsylvania now because through Toastmasters, I learned the skill set to be able to do this.
I love that.
And I had to run because I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. I'm telling you, there's so many things and I could just run with it. Let me give you a little space.
Yeah. What was the straw that broke the camel's back? What was the thing that finally pushed you over the edge? What was the ultimate why that appeared for you, that just clicked? You're like, I'm going to run for freaking governor. I am the one that will do this. What moment led to that?
There's a couple answers to that because I've run for other things before. I've run for my town council. I've run for state representative. In 2000, I sought the Libertarian Party's nomination for vice president, and that was practice for a statewide race for governor. I figured if I could pull off a national race, it should be trivial to do a regular race. But this year is different because there's a lot to be pissed off about in Pennsylvania. And the big thing is education. Our standardized tests show that more than half the kids cannot read at grade level. 2/3 cannot do math at grade level. And the situation is getting worse year after year after year. When you look at that, it's government run. Our Constitution, Article 3, Section 14, says the state shall run a thorough and efficient means of public education. Well, obviously, it's not thorough. Half the kids can't read, and 2/3 can't do math. In terms of efficiency, the average cost to educate a kid in Pennsylvania is $23,000. But the average cost of a non-elite private school in Pennsylvania is $11,000, less than half of what the government's spending. So it's not thorough, it's not efficient. So what I'm proposing is that we privatize the school system. Because in order to do that, right now, the state is providing $11,000 per kid to the school district. And on top of that, the school district is charging $13,000, $14,000, $15,000 a year in property tax. So what I'm suggesting is to refunnel that $11,000 that they're sending to the school districts and instead give it directly to the kid. Each kid would get an educational savings account. $11,000 that the state is currently giving, move it over, give it to the kid, and let the parents choose the school for the kid. Because right now, they're trapped in a zip code, trapped in a failing school district. There's some districts, some schools in Pennsylvania where there are no kids proficient in reading, no kids proficient in math. That's sinful, man. I would just privatize the whole thing without raising taxes, just refunnel that $11,000 and eliminate the property tax. This is a no-brainer situation. It's a win-win situation. The kids win because they get a private education. Property owners win because we get rid of that stinking property tax. And best of all, we get government out of the education of our children. No more questions about boys in the girls' room, nothing about men and women's sports, all this Title IX garbage, all goes away. And one of the best things that goes away, the teachers union. Right now, virtually all teachers who are unionized are with the government schools. Virtually no private schools have a teachers union. This is important because when the teachers union contributes to candidates, 98% of them are Democrats. These are the same people who are pushing boys and girls sports and everything like that. So the teachers union is actually working against educating our children. And when they say to me, oh, Ken, you can't privatize the schools, don't talk to me about that. You have zero credibility. Look what you've done. Good grief. It's like John Galt, get the hell out of my way. And to make sure that that happens, it's already written. I've got a legal team put together of libertarian lawyers here in Pennsylvania. In the middle of May, I'm going to be filing a lawsuit to demand the divestiture of the school system from the government because they're not living up to their constitutional promise of thorough and efficient. This has been tried before, but only on dollar grounds. They say, oh, some of the rural districts, they can't levy a high enough property tax. Money's not the problem. A Standard & Poor's study has shown that 1/3 of the best performing districts get less than the average amount. And 1/3 of the worst performing districts get more than the average amount. It's not a matter of money. It's a matter of leadership. And the Commonwealth has failed miserably. So I'm going to turn to the courts. We're going to file a suit. We're going to force them to divest it. And I, for one, can't wait to see that. I call myself the education candidate because I'm the only one who has a solution to the education crisis, to the property tax crisis, and one that people don't realize, the teachers union crisis. And there's also a pension crisis here in Pennsylvania. There's not enough money in the pension fund to pay for everybody. And while this isn't going to solve that directly, it's going to help because by getting rid of the teachers union, there won't be any new people going into that system. So while it won't take it away, it's going to stop its growth. I can go on and on about education. I mean, and the education candidate. I spent over 20 years working. My largest client was Educational Testing Service, the SAT people. I worked on NAEP, the nation's report card. I helped run the world testing centers for them, several years doing that, and some normal stuff like budgeting and things like that. So I'm the education candidate. I've got the qualifications to do it. I got the answer, and one answer solves multiple problems. I can go on and on and on. Let me stop there and give you a chance.
No, I love it. No, so with the education reform, there's been a number of states that I've noticed that have switched to one of those situations where they've got like a voucher that they can hand out, and that's essentially what I'm hearing from you is the solution for Pennsylvania is something of similar deals because the money's there, like you said, like they're already setting aside the money for these students, and then parents have to pay an extra, lump sum. Like the state's not even covering their commitments to, even fund half or 2/3 of those demographics that you listed off. Like they're not even close to meeting this disconnect. And so I know that it needs looked at. You've sold me. And it's
Thank you.
it's going to be cool. You know, you get into the governor's office and you get to have access to all of this information at your disposal, all of these accounts that you can take a look at, put committees on it, stuff like. You've got your legal team already cooking up policy for you. Like that is so awesome. You know, not everybody has the types of connections to lawyers or attorneys, but you use what you got. And really, like, for any candidates that might be watching this, like, use what you've got. And you may never know when you may be just one conversation away from having libertarian lawyer friends. Like, we like helping each other out with the skills that we have. And it sounds like Ken's got some good connections there in the attorney legal world. And we're able to use that to cook up policy in a smart way. Because this puts you in a position, Ken, where, like, if you're ever grilled in a debate by some big shot or an incumbent or something, like, you already have an understanding of, like, you can't just go in there and start flipping switches. Like, you actually need to apply through these legal channels, speak to them on their terms. And
yep.
Dude, that's
and I'm
great.
not going to wait to get elected. I'm not going to wait to get elected. I'm not going to wait to get elected to do this, because, like, I'm going to be doing my announcement, my big kickoff, on May 16th. It's a Saturday, on the steps of the Capitol building in Harrisburg. That'll be noon on May 16th. If anybody's in the area, come on by and wave and say hello. And one other thing that I have to add, and here in Pennsylvania,
Please do.
We have several attorneys, and it's just a matter of going to ask them, would you help out? And they're more than willing to help out. But there's one thing that's done more for me than anything else, and that's I joined Toastmasters. Toastmasters is phenomenal. Its mission is to provide a supportive environment for learning public speaking and leadership skills. I always get asthma attacks when I try to speak in public. I just couldn't do it. Some people get butterflies. I would get pterodactyls, you know, the pointy-winged dinosaurs. Took me a couple of years, but Toastmasters set me free. What I tell other libertarians is, we have the best message on the planet, liberty. But that message is useless if we can't communicate it effectively or orchestrate its distribution. You should run, don't walk to your nearest Toastmaster meeting. And if you're in Pennsylvania, mention my name, they probably know me. And in the Libertarian Party of Pennsylvania, whenever I'm at a convention or something, anytime I say the word Toastmasters, everybody takes a drink. We had our convention last weekend when I got the nomination, and they were packing the audience counting, 17, 18. I'm a missionary for Toastmasters. Are you a member?
I'm not, but I am aware of how, like, you know, we as libertarians, I've spoken about it before, like, we're very, very, like, you know, we typically speak very, very well when we're within our echo chamber, but when it comes to speaking to regular members of the public and the like just working families or people, like, it's harder to build bridges and meet people where they are as a candidate when you've got, like, a dissertation level, you know, understanding of all of the problems, but being able to distill that down into a message that is your solution that you're pitching. That is where the magic is being able to take that dissertation level, like all of the economists that we've read and all of the historians and like you know, great fiction like Ayn Rand, stuff like that. Like, our brains are wired for that, you know, just to be self-sufficient for ourselves typically. Like, if not me, then who? A lot of people that I know that are libertarians are just like, oh, if I need to learn that to be able to do this, okay, good, I'm going to learn that, and then I'm going to do this. And right now is a good time for everybody to start connecting and to lean on each other and use those skills, and to not be afraid of standing on stage, and to turn that fear into excitement. You know, to realize they're two sides of the same coin. And if there's a little bit of fear, that usually means that, like, it's going to feel great when it's over and done with. It's just just a cocktail of neurochemicals that are making us, you know, feel that way. But our internal narrative is what shapes the output of how we, show up and express ourselves. And in this case, express ourselves as leaders. We're not just
Yep.
nerds, but we can be leaders. We can be philosopher kings. That's how I kind of
Yeah.
see libertarians. We can be nerds. We can rule. That's the best kind of ruler that you could have, in my opinion, is a philosopher king.
True, but you got to be careful to make sure you don't alienate your audience. There was a set of tapes that I got back in the 90s called the Libertarian Macho Flash, where you go out there and you just like dump the libertarian position. So what should we do about the drug war? Oh, just legalize them all and then stop. No, you want to be able to give them some good reason. Like, for example, with the education thing. Do you want your kids to be able to read? Would you like a private education for your children? It becomes a no-brainer. And I love being in the debates because it's easy to make those guys look like idiots. They're trying to defend something.
I love it.
Especially when they go against the Constitution. Yep. I have a story. When I ran for governor before in 2002 against Ed Rendell, who was a big guy here in Pennsylvania. And we were allowed to ask one question of each other. And I asked him, I said, the Pennsylvania Constitution, Article 1, Section 21 says the right of the citizens to bear arms in defense of themselves and the state shall not be questioned. Well, I have no question what that means. But I asked him, I said, which are you going to betray? Your oath to the Constitution or your promise to the anti-gun lobby? He smiled at the camera and he said, I think we can have reasonable limits on gun ownership. Ed, you're not qualified to be governor. Step aside. Well, he won. But that's the fun part, because it's so easy to make these guys look bad. I already mentioned education. If a teacher says to me, oh, no, we got great schools now. No, you don't. Like I said, you got no credibility at all anymore. You can't even start to do that. And some people say, oh, you're going to be cherry picking the teachers. Like that's something bad? Of course I want to cherry pick the teachers. I want the best teachers educating our children. And the best teachers will jump over to the privatization because the private schools aren't big enough right now to handle everybody. They're going to buy the old school buildings. They're going to cherry pick those best teachers. And the bad teachers, McDonald's is always looking for people to serve, clean tables and stuff. I don't want them teaching my kids. And that's another thing. I'm annoyed, and that's part of the fire in the belly. I've had it. I'm not going to take it anymore. Call me Howard Beale.
Yeah, we definitely need some reform in the education department. And in doing this, it would also create a nice economy. Like private schools would be churning and burning. You'd have the free market at work with the hiring. Like they want the best talent, so they're going to offer the best wages and the best packages for benefits and things that teachers might not have been getting in the public school system. And these are going to be people, administrators who had experience on that side and are going to be very fired up to do the work with the new school that's private. And the private school would immediately get all of the best talent. Like I think that there is a certain almost like a glorification of suffering that teachers have in public schools, I think, where it's almost like a Dostoevsky-esque kind of attitude where they could just this is my job, and yes, I love the kids, and yes, I like those things can all be true, but your work situation sucks. So like teachers, they do go into it for the best reasons, but the environment is just it's so toxic and non-conducive to helping to keep talent and to let talent not go fetid, to not let it go stagnant. And that tends to happen in public schools. 20 years down, somebody's just looking at like, okay, I'm going to get my pension in a few years. And a lot of times those good teachers get turned into like shells of themselves. Like I know that one of the teachers that I had in high school, I'm sure that at 15, 18 years prior, he was probably like super, super chipper and, like just a totally different man. But the math teacher that I got was very, very like tough love and everything, my way or the highway. But he sticks out
Uh-huh.
to me, and we all just knew that he was waiting out the last couple of years for his pension, so we didn't think much of it. We didn't take it personally or anything. But
Yeah. And
imagine
that
where he
raises,
could have been in a situation where he was valued. Imagine where he could have been in a situation where 20 years down the road, he's probably got a bunch of raises. He's a
mhm.
part of the community. He's loved and revered as a good mentor. And private schools are a
Yep.
way for that to actually thrive.
Yep.
And like I
And that's,
said, to the economy aspect of it too would raise, revenue for Pennsylvania, and raise the
mhm.
education aspect. You might get, like just a better workforce all around.
You know,
Uh, these
you
kids that
you mentioned another thing there about, I was going to say, you mentioned another thing there about these guys waiting for retirement. There's something called tenure, and only the government schools use tenure. Virtually no private school uses tenure. So when they get in, they coast. There's no reason for them to be good. But that would end. Another thing you mentioned there was the economy. As governor, there's all sorts of things I can do to trigger the economy, an economic boom here in Pennsylvania. First of all, if we're doing the educational savings accounts, well, people are going to want to come to Pennsylvania so their kids get a good education. But the thing is, in
Mhm.
Pennsylvania, our cost of government has been rising at more than 3 times the rate of inflation for over 50 years. But when I'm governor, that trend will end. Using the power of the veto, the Constitution, I am promising to veto every single tax increase that crosses my desk. So I'll be able to stop that growth. Better yet, I got something that Ronald Reagan asked for a million times and never got, the line item veto. That means I can go through any bill and cross out things I don't like. Things like the $200 million a year that we give to horse racing. Why are we subsidizing horse racing? If you're a horse racing fan, don't vote for me. Gone. Then there's stupid things like the primary election. Why are we paying for the two old parties' candidate selection process? We Libertarian Party, we pay for our own. The communists pay for their own. The Greens pay for their own. It's crazy. Stadiums, $200 million a year go to stadiums. $100 million a year go for convention centers. $1 billion go for the prevailing wage laws, which support unions. I could pull out a piece of paper, just go down the list, and I come up with $3 billion worth of pork. That with that line item veto, gone, 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 gone.
That's
And
a
even,
very cool superpower to have as a governor, like a line item
yeah,
veto. I'd never heard that concept before.
huh?
Very cool, very cool. Kind of, it evokes the imagery in my head of the guy who's sitting there. He gets a contract handed to him, and he starts flipping through it and starts crossing things out, and then puts a big old signature at the bottom. It's essentially that, but for policy and the amount of pork that you could cut from things like that. Like,
Yep.
like why isn't
The
Trump
special
doing
interests are
that
going
for
to
these
hate me.
omnibus bills? We all know, we
He
know, we
can't.
all know
He
why Trump's
doesn't.
not doing it with the
He
omnibus
doesn't
bills,
have it.
but
He can't do it.
no, that would be a cool policy to have at the federal
Yeah.
level. But
And
man, it's
that's
just
one thing.
it's its own circus at that level.
Mhm.
What were you saying?
Yeah. Well, not my circus, not my monkey. So I don't pay
I
I
love
don't
these
pay
things.
attention to national things at all. I I'm a
So
Pennsylvania guy through and through. I
to
made
bring it back down to the
long
state
study
level
for the
for you,
Pennsylvania
then
Constitution.
I've talked to a lot of candidates who are coming out um, because they're hearing a lot around them about data centers and stuff, like from like rural Arizona out here. There's a lot of, like, I have a friend that actually he's running for city
Mhm.
council. There was a recall election. No, it's an aluminum plant. In this case, it's an aluminum plant, but it's a very similar situation to how people are rising up against these like data centers that are driving the utility costs up and just sucking all the good water out of the reservoirs. Just curious, like, are there any, is Pennsylvania a buzz with data center hate? This is this is my
Absolutely.
question for you.
It's a huge thing here in Pennsylvania. Different parts, especially up in the Poconos, pretty area up in the Poconos. They're looking to create these giant things. Noise, like you said, using up the water and everything. There are a couple bills right now in Harrisburg, but they're only softball things. They want to monitor it. Tell us about your water usage. Tell us about your electric usage. No, that's not what you should be doing, because the local communities, they're the ones in charge of zoning. So they're the ones who are being blindsided by this because they never saw the data centers coming. So what I'm proposing to do, none of this monitoring stuff, I'm going to call for an immediate 90-day moratorium on any data center in Pennsylvania to give the communities a chance to let their code catch up with it in terms of noise requirement, water usage, electric usage, setbacks, heights, all those other things, which local communities are already regulating. So we don't need new laws. We don't need the state to come in with a one-size-fits-none solution. 90-day moratorium, let the locals decide for themselves. Some people want it. Data centers are excellent for some people. It brings in jobs, high-paying jobs. It's a long-term commitment. It brings in construction jobs. Data centers can be good. I don't want to decide that myself as governor. I don't want the state deciding it. 90-day moratorium. Let all the individual communities decide for themselves how they want to handle it. That, to me, is a libertarian solution.
Dude, I love it. I love it because, I hold the same opinion. We do need the data centers. I just don't want to see small town America get like preyed on, by these multinational super billion-dollar companies. And a lot of times the small towns aren't even the ones that get to like staff these because they don't have like the rural parts of the country don't really even have the talent to hire locally. So a lot of times they just bring it in. And they're either city slickers that don't fit in with anybody and they're just kind of, I don't know, or they're like H-1Bs or something like that. So it's cool to hear what libertarians think of this because of its interesting position with free market and civil issues. It's a bit of we have to compromise. This is reality. And that sounds like a great plan there, Ken.
Thank you. And I'm not looking to bring in new laws. I want to make it as local as possible. Local, they're the people who really know what's going on. But we'll see what happens. Now, one thing you mentioned there about these multinational firms coming in Pennsylvania, it's not necessarily them, because there are smaller people who say, I'm going to build this, and if I build it, they will come. Because that way, these bigger organizations don't need to fight that local battle. Instead, they've got some local real estate developer says, I'm going to put this up in the Poconos up there, and they're the ones who are doing it. It's a shame because a lot of them are already in the pipeline. And once they're in the pipeline, well, you can't change horses in midstream like that. The law doesn't allow for that. That's why I want that 90-day moratorium so that other communities can make the decision for themselves. So the things that I have planned for the economy, it's just going to get better and better here in Pennsylvania. And it's not just that. There are a lot of other powers that are given by the Constitution. And one of my favorites is the power of the pardon. I'm saying that when I go in first day in office, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pardon every single nonviolent drug offender. If you were just kicking back, smoking a doobie, watching Simpsons, you've got to get out of jail free card from this governor. And it's not just the drug war. What about somebody who was concealed and they, with the concealed carry, and they got caught? Where's your permit? Well, shall not be questioned. Or you're going to jail anyway. No. As governor, free. Issue a permit. Anything. If you didn't file some piece of paper or something like that, if there's no victim, it's no crime, and you get a pardon from this governor. Can't wait. There's 17 places I've identified this Constitution where they're not following it. As I already mentioned, Article 1, Section 21, about the right to bear arms. There are so many other things. One of them is the legislature. It says they get a salary, mileage, and no other compensation whatsoever, quote unquote. But they get health care, they get a pension, they get this, they get cars. Somebody's got to stand up for the little people. And I plan to do that.
I think that's outstanding. Like you would be in a position to do the pardon thing. So of course, like I want to see you win, man. And as we all know, governor's campaigns are no cheap thing. So I see that right now we've got about 200 people in here, which is awesome. It looks like it's probably got shared out on like the Libertarian page, their main national page or something like that. And I love that we have some people in here. Love every single one of you. Thank you for being here. I'm going to ask that you guys go to Ken Krawchuk's website and donate $5 a piece. That's $1,000 in his pocket, guys. If you guys can do $5 a piece, $1,000 in Ken Krawchuk's bank account for governor would be fire. Ideally, $50,000 would be a good start for a candidate for governor. So let's think in terms of the funds that it's going to take. $5 a day could sponsor an ad for Ken. Like libertarians, we're leveling up our game. We can do a lot with a little. We can definitely do a lot with a little bit. We are not used to getting $1 million checks from the PACs and whatnot. We can definitely stretch things and make sure that we're touching the most hearts and minds with that money. So I'm just going to say, guys, please donate to Ken.
It's a very good suggestion you have there. You just left off one thing. The website name is kenk4pa.com. kenk4pa.com. And the digit 4 or FOR both work. I got it covered. kenk4pa.com. You can check out some of my other stands, whether it's on elections, the economy, abortion, Convention of the States, ICE.
You have a great website. I like the way that you've got everything lined up in terms of the issues and what you feel and what your positions are. It is a very, very well fleshed out, thorough site. So I see sites of various ratings that I would give more of an F or a D. Yours, I would give an A resoundingly. So guys, go check it out. Ken, could you hit us with that website one more time?
kenk4pa.com. I'm Ken K, 4PA. I don't insist people spell out my name, interestingly enough. But if you can get out there. Now, and I also have to say, we're still building the website, even though it's got all that stuff out there. We're going to redo the homepage and get that little more leaning towards the education thing, because I am the education candidate. I am going to save this Commonwealth. I am going to phase out the Pennsylvania personal income tax during my term by using that line item veto. And also elections. We haven't touched upon elections. In the last statewide election, there were 227 statewide offices, state senators, state representatives. More than half of them had one candidate running. What is it, communist Russia? They got it set up to go against independents and third parties, even though Article 1, Section 5 of our Constitution says all elections shall be equal. I need 5,000 signatures to get on the ballot. Josh and Shapiro only needs 2,000. It's not equal, man.
It's not equal.
So many things we could do.
Yeah, and all the funds, as you brought up earlier, all the funds that the Republicans and Democrat parties, those guys get their primaries funded and paid for and stuff. That's crazy. Like, how nice would it be if the LP had access to that same money? But I think you and I both know that the government would benefit from the binary thinking model. So it's something that they could fund because it benefits them to have people think that there's only two options. And in Pennsylvania, this election, we have a third. There's probably a couple more, but we don't need to. We have a third candidate, and that is Ken Krawchuk.
I had a short story about that. Josh Shapiro is our governor right now. He's running for re-election. He used to be my township commissioner. He was my state representative. And back about 20 years ago, we were pushing a bill called the Voters' Choice Act to make it easier to get on the ballot. I got it in writing from him that says, I support free and equal elections, and I support your Voters' Choice Act. Well, when it came up for a vote, guess what he did? He voted against it. I was there when he did it. And afterwards, I walked up and says, Josh, You said you'd vote in favor of it. It's like, well, Ken, we got to get 300 signatures in the middle of winter, and you got the summer. Josh, you guys wrote that law. Don't put it on me. His word is worth nothing. That's why I call him joshing Shapiro. I'm not going to go Trump and call him a liar or anything. He was joshing when he said he supports free and equal elections. And people say, oh, so you're running against him? I was like, no. Joshing Shapiro is running for president. Stacey Garrity is running against Joshing Shapiro. Me, I'm running for the people of Pennsylvania, for the kids of Pennsylvania, for parents who don't have enough money in their pocket, for fixed elections. We've got those mail-in ballots. They're ubiquitous. One problem is they're unconstitutional. And they're also the easiest way to cheat in an election. I don't know how much time we got, but I could tell you about my plans for election. End gerrymandering with something called
please do.
line districting.
We didn't have a whole lot of people on for the first, 20 minutes or so. I don't mind taking this a little bit late. I've got everything off of my plate for the night, and I feel like this is going great. So once again, guys, thank you. Everybody in the audience, thank you so much for being here to support Ken Krawchuk and us over at the Libertarian Leadership Academy. I'm Michael Wilhelm, just setting in for Michael Pickens. We're going to be trading in and out as hosts from time to time, and sometimes you might even see 2 candidate interviews in one day. But thank you so much, guys, for all being here. 430 plus people, outstanding. And I'm going to ask again, please go to Ken's website. We don't need to, I know that I put the website up. It's going to be easy to find, but campaigns take money, and this guy's running for governor, super firebrand candidate. We want to see him win, and $5 could cover an ad for a day, and you could reach a lot of people when you really refine those ad settings. You can really get in to each district and target it with different issues that you want to solve for the. We're going to get really smart with it, guys. Libertarians can do a lot with a little. Ken, let's take it away for about 15 more minutes. Let's aim just to be off by 5 my time. So that's going to be here in about 20 minutes. Do you mind going that long?
Not at all.
Okay.
Toastmaster.
Yeah, I don't mind at all. So take it away.
Turns down an opportunity to speak. So if you say I got it, I got it. Well,
I love it. So we're talking about elections, and we're talking about
what I call the 3s: education, the economy, and elections. Yep. So elections, as I mentioned before, more than half of the statewide races, state senate, state representative, had one candidate. That's because they built these incredible barriers against third-party candidates. It used to be a lot worse. I was a plaintiff on a federal case back in 2016, which eliminated the high signature requirements. When I ran in 2002 against Ed Rendell, I needed 21,000 signatures. Ed needed 2,000. Definitely not equal. We challenged that, and in 2016, we got that overturned. So that cleared the path, and I was able to run again. But there are other things as well, because there were fines that they would levy. In 2008, there was a green guy. I'm sorry, 2006. There was a green guy, Carl Romanelli. He was running for U.S. Senate. The signature requirement that year was 67,000 signatures, even though still 2,000 for the 2 old parties. Well, he did something nobody else did. He turned in 98,500 signatures, which is a record then, it's a record now.
Wow.
They dragged his butt into court, and they invalidated signatures. People signed, but they should have printed, they should have signed. Oh, not a registered voter. Oh, they moved. Oh, ditto marks, and they got him below the limit. They kicked him off the ballot and fined him $80,000 just for the temerity of giving the people of Pennsylvania a choice. Well, that same court case in 2016, it overturned those fines. So they're gone. But we still have a problem because it's still not equal. So one thing that we're pushing is the Political Party Equality Act. And you can go to politicalpartyequality.org and read all about it. First thing it does is it eliminates taxpayer-funded primaries. They can have primaries, but they can pay for it themselves. The second thing is, if you have 1/20th of 1% of the voters in your party registered in your party, you become a political party and you nominate using your party rules directly onto the ballot. No more signatures, no more challenges. All that stuff goes away. The Department of State in Pennsylvania validates your signatures. You don't have enough, you don't have enough. That's all there is to it. Get some more. Politicalpartyequality.org. So that would make it easier for people to get on the ballot. Because right now, I've adopted George Carlin as my uncle. And I call him my Uncle George. He says, it's one big club and you and I ain't in it. So I'm out to open up that club. So it's not these communist elections where you got one candidate in more than half of the elections. That's just crazy. There's another angle, and this one could do probably more than anything else. There's something called approve, disapprove voting. Right now we have plurality voting. That's where people vote and the person with the most votes wins. It's very widespread, but it's also recognized as the worst way to conduct an election. Because what happens? You go in there, you hold your nose, and you vote for somebody you hate. And that person takes as a mandate. He voted for me. He loves everything that I do. No. Approve, disapprove voting does something different. What you can do for a given race, you can approve of 0, 1, or 2 candidates. And you can disapprove of 0 or 1 candidate. For every approval, you get a +1 on your score. For every disapproval, you get a -1. The net score, highest net score, is the winner. It gives you something that you never had before. The ability to say, not this guy or this girl or whatever, this robot. Now, the guy who turned me on to this, Roy Minette, he's a retired physicist out Lancaster way in the Dutch country. He did a sample of this with the Hillary and Donald race in 2016. Each of them had a base of about 10, 15%, but more than half the country didn't like either one. If we had that approve, disapprove voting, that disapprove button would have been busted before the end of the day. Hillary wouldn't have won. Donald wouldn't have won. They would have had a negative score. And if your score goes negative, by the way, that's NOTA. It means you can't win no matter how many points you got. Neither one would have won. Who would have won? Gary Johnson, Jill Stein, some dog catcher who just happened to catch the public's fancy. The point is, you can get rid of these extreme candidates with approve, disapprove voting. And I'm pushing for that. We did that here in Pennsylvania at our convention. We had 9 of the presidential candidates in for our 2024 election, and we used that. Some people got really high, some people got really low. Some people didn't get any votes at all, no approvals or disapprovals. But it came out pretty interesting. I would certainly do that. So it's one thing.
That's such a fun concept.
So it allows you to say, disapprove. I don't want this guy. Like I said, that button's going to be broken at the end of the day. Another thing we do is get rid of gerrymandering.
Before you move on, I wanted to speak to that style of voting, the approve, disapprove. It reminds me of the ancient Greek concept of ostracization, where every election cycle, I think it's actually every year, every single year, the people would vote for one of the members of the Greek Senate. And I think the Romans probably adopted this too, because they just loved everything the Greeks did in the democracy realm. But like they would vote to ostracize somebody. Once a year, the people got to vote to knock somebody out of their Senate. And that's something that sounds like you were saying, and this is like rooted. This is rooted in historical fact. Yep. Like this has been a thing at the height of democracy with Greece and Rome before everything got overblown with empire and statism and stuff. Like Greece was really like something to admire there, where each of the nations had their own autonomy and they respected each other's culture, but the language was the thing that held them all together because it was such a good transmitter of ideas and information. So the people knew that, and they'd be able to just say, that senator, he's gone. And it would turn into this whole thing, like they'd get processioned out. Everybody's
Wow.
throwing tomatoes and like lettuce and stuff at them. And I honestly would love to see that here in modern times. Like we just don't see enough of that. So anyway, I just wanted to nerd out for a little bit, freestyle on that
Yeah.
concept.
You
I
know,
love the idea of approve, disapprove voting. That's cool. Very cool.
yep. You know, you're talking about the ostracization. My dentist does that. At the end of every year, he fires one of his patients. Anyone who's a big pain in the ass, they're gone. We should do that. Anyway,
Yeah.
I'll leave that alone. All right. So AADV voting. People say, oh, we should have instant runoff voting. Well, if you got one candidate, who cares? You get two candidates, who cares? You get three candidates, maybe a tiny bit better,
Maybe.
but you still don't have that disapprove. So you go beyond instant runoff voting and you do approve, disapprove voting instead. Another thing I started to say before was gerrymandering is a problem. And
Yes,
the
take it away.
Constitution puts the responsibility for that on the legislature. Well, the legislature, Pennsylvania is neat because it's divided. We're a purple state. It's going to be a gold state soon, but right now we're purple. And they couldn't come up with a map. It favored one side, the other side, back and forth, back and forth. Judge stepped in and says, I'm going to draw a map. It's like, whoa. Constitution doesn't give you the power to do that. He did it anyway. And the two old parties, they let the judge get away with it. There's an easy answer. It's called, I'm not going to get the full name right. It's abbreviated. It's called split line districting. It's mathematical. What they do is they just take the whole state, divide it in half population wise. You don't cut any cities in half or any districts. And that's part of the name, split line district preserving or something like that. And again, you need 4 districts, cut it in half again. And you keep going down. So for example, the U.S. Congress, we have 17 districts here in Pennsylvania. You keep cutting into 17 equally sized districts. It's mathematical. You run the computer program, you push the button, and it's done. No gerrymandering. It's not possible. And that's what we need. I'm going to be pushing for the split line districting method as well. There's so many different things we could do with the elections here to make them better. AADV voting, split line, getting rid of the signature requirements, the Political Party Equality Act, all these things. I just can't wait to do it. I'm telling you.
Yeah, that story that you were telling about the guy that you're going to be running against,
Joshing Shapiro.
throwing a fit because of 300 signatures in the winter. Come on. Libertarians, we could do that. We could do that in the snow that we have before. But
Yep.
yeah, and then like the guy that you brought up that got 98,000. We love getting signatures, but it would be super great. It would be super great if the barrier to entry was equal. You know, getting all these signatures every single time we want to run somebody, it's exhausting. And we just need to really tune the party into being just like it's really good at dropping candidates in everywhere, but being able to drop candidates in and help them with the support that they need is something that the LP could do a lot better with, in terms of something we need to upgrade to be like the Republicans and the Democrats. Like I'm sure that your two-party opponents in this race, they've got a whole team of volunteers. And guys, if any of these 620 plus people, if anybody's in Pennsylvania, hit up Ken Krawchuk. Like if you've got any skills, forget skills, if you can pick up a phone, like that's really all you've got to be able to do in certain volunteer situations. Like, Ken, are you looking for anybody, any specific skill sets? Like, what's your volunteer team look like? What kind of support do you have behind you right now? You mentioned your legal, you've got your legal counsel with your attorneys. That's a great pocket, a great tool set you can use. What are you looking for right now?
Well, I also have my graphic design team. They're all lined up as well. Fundraising is always something we need more of, and I've got a few dedicated fundraisers, And I was talking to one guy. I'll drop his name, Michael Heiss, and I was gonna, because he's got two beautiful kids, a beautiful wife, and everything. I was at his wedding and everything, and I was like, Michael, you gotta help. But he's family at the moment, and I love that, because there's nothing more important than family. So fundraising is definitely important. If you are interested in fundraising, and I'm more than happy to let you take your cut of it as well. You should get paid for helping. You don't have to get paid, but that's one thing I certainly need. I guess not opposition research, because I'm not running against either of the two old party candidates. I guess I'm looking for people who are going to go out there and just spread the gospel. Just take sound bites off of my website. And so if somebody says something like, oh, what about guns? Just go out to where I pull something off of my gun article and drop it in there. Anything like that. That's probably the biggest thing that anybody can do. If you're in Pennsylvania, get me into schools. One interesting thing about being a candidate for governor is they let me talk to the students. When I ran in 2002, more than half of my appearances were at colleges and high schools. I got as low as the third grade. And the questions you get in the third grade: does it hurt your feelings when all the candidates pick on you? It's like, no, because they're wrong. If somebody tries to bully you, you strike back at the bully. The bully doesn't bother you anymore. I also go there and I give them constitutions. I have a whole sequence of things that I talk about in the Constitution. I ask them, it says Article 1, Section 7, no unreasonable searches and seizures. How many of you have been subject to an unreasonable search and seizure? Every hand in the room goes up. They know what's wrong. They know what's all about it. And people say, well, have you smoked pot? I'm like, yeah. I was in high school in the late 60s, college in the early 70s. I was right there in the middle of that drug culture. I smoked pot, and I inhaled.
Oh my gosh.
And I held it. The teachers are looking daggers at me. I said, but because of our laws, if I had been caught, I wouldn't be here today. I could still be rotting in jail. How many lives are we ruining? If you get caught with pot, you lose your chance at a federal scholarship. Not that I really want a federal scholarship or anything like that. I like going directly to the students because they know they're getting screwed. And then when I go and tell them, you're not being taught well enough, and the teachers are just, they look at me. It's wonderful getting into the schools. So if you don't have to be in Pennsylvania for this, contact any of the colleges in Pennsylvania. Give them a call. Start with the political science department. Don't go to the dean. Don't go to public relations. Don't go to anything like that. Call directly the political science guy and say, hey, listen, I represent the Ken Krawchuk campaign for governor of Pennsylvania. He'd like to come visit your school. Is Wednesday good or would Thursday be better? and just pass me their name, address, and contact info. I will follow up. Because the more students that I can affect, the better. I run a Toastmasters club at Drexel University here in Philadelphia, and it is amazing the amount of energy that students can bring. So if you're looking for something to do to help the campaign, certainly funding would be nice. Become a fundraiser would be even better. And if you're just a regular guy, you don't fundraise, you don't want to get involved, call the colleges. Big long list. What do we got? 15, 20, 30, I forget. I don't know. I should know off the top of my head how many state colleges we got. Call them. Private colleges. Grove City, which is an excellent one, does not take federal money. One after the other. You can do that. If you're in Pennsylvania, give me a call. I'll come and visit. I travel the state. I've already done numerous statewide tours. I'll come down, sit in the bar, talk to you and your buddies. That works well. And the cool thing is, I've got a Tesla Cybertruck, which draws attention, and it's got Ken K for PA on it. That's my license plate, Ken K for PA.
Love it.
And it has self-driving, full self-driving on it. I don't have to drive. I just put in State College, Pennsylvania.
You just campaign all day.
Yeah, and I just sit back and I enjoy the scenery. Plus, I've got free supercharging on that, meaning I don't pay for the electrons. I don't pay for gas. It's free for me to travel the state. I need
So we need to
you
get
tell me
you
where.
in. We need
You tell me where
Ken
I
in
should
every
go.
county. There's got to
Yep.
be at least a dozen people in this audience from Pennsylvania right now.
Uh-huh. Bring me
I'm
over.
gonna say it. I think there's
I
got to
want to
be at
be
least
there.
12. But Ken wants some calls, guys. Like Ken
Yep.
would like to hear from you. If you're from Pennsylvania, shoot him an email. Let him know you support him.
Uh-huh.
Drop a comment.
That's right.
Let him know. You know, we need to be having conversations with each other so that we can, like I mentioned earlier, you never know when you're one conversation away from having somebody to plug into, like where you need them, someone with energy who wants to offer that support. And I've seen that
Yep. And
time and time again with the enterprises that I've got going on with the Liberty Movement. Besides this and with this, like everybody's just so fired up and like wanting to do something. And the thing that's like
there you
you got
go.
to overcome is the fear
Oh,
of just talking to somebody that you don't know, because they could literally be the person that you need for the campaign, the operation, like the enterprise, your business, whatever. Just go out. We need some more community, guys. We need that agora, because that's what that is the agora, the idea factory where we
yes.
can exchange.
Hmm.
Well, this is the idea factory, and then we come to the agora and bring what we've manufactured. And
Hmm.
so many good people, so many talented people in this
Yep.
audience. I am certain of it, because nobody would be sitting through something like this unless they had a love, like a crazy person kind of love for liberty. So thank you everybody for sticking around. And Ken needs your support in Pennsylvania. If you're not in Pennsylvania and you want to support somebody like local to you, I guarantee like there's gonna be a libertarian candidate in your state, in your maybe even in your city. You might even be a candidate in here watching this, which if so, I
Hmm.
love y'all. But
Uh-huh.
you know firsthand then. So anybody and anyway, support Ken Krawchuk for governor of Pennsylvania. This man is a very, very well educated man. He's got patents. Check out his book. Give us that one more time. Atlas Snubbed.
That's right. Atlas Snubbed.
Atlas Snubbed.
Snubbed. It's a parody sequel to Iron Man's Atlas Shrugged. And it's not a ha-ha parody. It's a parody. Because she is the matriarch of our party. And I've been in situations where I've had to defend her philosophy to the public at large. And some parts of it are just not defensible. So I figured I would write a book to give political solutions, not philosophical solutions, political solutions to all the problems we have today. And you don't have to have read Atlas Shrugged to do it. I had some proof people to go through it who hadn't read it. And afterwards, they went and read her book. They like mine better. There's one concept in there that I really want to push. And stop me. I got some closing remarks, but I'm not ready to go there yet. It's something I call the can't license, CAN''T. Somebody asked me, what do I think about driver's licenses? Eliminate them. Why are you saddling us good drivers with a driver's license? Instead, get rid of them. If you're out on the road and you're being an idiot with your car, we give you a can't drive license because you've proven that you don't know how to take care of yourself in a car. And if we catch you driving with a can't drive license, we throw your ass in jail. Give you a couple of days in jail to teach you a lesson. And it's not just driver's licenses. How about carrying a gun? If you're an idiot with your gun, maybe you're shooting it off in the city or something like that, you get a can't carry license. I know it sounds oxymoronic, and it doesn't have to be permanent. It could be 6 months, something to teach you a lesson. And if we catch you carrying, when you have a can't carry license, we're going to put your butt in the clinker where it belongs. And it's not just things like guns or driver's licenses. We do a lot of fracking here in Pennsylvania. What if your fracking is leaking? You're polluting. You get a can't frack license. And it doesn't matter what you're doing. You can get that can't license for anything. It could be, I don't know, maybe you're making inferior roads. Well, you can't get a can't pave license. If your mines are leaking, you get a can't mine license. The can't licenses
You're
are
braiding
limited
hair.
only by your imagination. But it
You're
goes into
braiding
that
hair and
book.
they start.
And,
I
and
follow.
there's more in that book too. The one big thing is
Like, this is like well, what real quick, what I like about that position is that it's like liberty by default. You know,
correct.
it's kind of in the same philosophical arena as like it's better to ask for forgiveness
Forgiveness and permission.
than
Yeah.
permission, you know, but it's in a society where we could trust each other a lot more, you know, like I like to harken back to the Wild West days where they say like an armed society is a polite society and there are guns everywhere, you know, and common law, the common law situations out there, there was some violence, but only as a response to, you know, violence that came to a town or something. But in terms of where you're coming from, I see that very much as like a liberty by default policy. And then you've got the can't license. It's like, well, you've abused that right.
Yes.
You've abused that.
I'm going to steal that. I'm going to steal that line.
Liberty by default. I'm glad you like it.
I got to write that down.
That's,
Liberty by default. I like that.
Liberty by default policy. I like the can't license thing.
And there's more.
But I think that's good messaging.
There's more.
So I'll let you take away some
snubbed as well.
Oh, sorry. We're just getting an audio delay. I'm sorry. Yeah, there's just a bit of an audio delay. I'm really sorry. Okay. But I'll let you finish that thought and then we'll give some closing remarks and I think we'll wrap this up. You know, we'll get this wrapped up here in about 5 minutes or so. This is great though. I'm loving every minute. And I'm loving the 700 plus people in here. You guys are great.
Another concept in Atlas Snubbed is the separation of society and state. The purpose of the state is to protect the rights and property of the citizens, period. Anything else beyond that is a battle among special interests fighting over a piece of your money. So what I suggest in Atlas Snubbed is to separate society and state. The state takes care of protecting the rights and property of the citizens. Society, though, takes care of people. Right now, the state is doing all sorts of stuff. They're giving free drugs to seniors. They're paying for mass transit, all these things that society should be doing. So what I've done in the book is you take the Constitution and you mirror it. There's one now for society. Society looks just like government. It's got a president of society, a governor of society, state house of society, and they don't pass laws, they pass guidelines. Because the one difference between society and state, society does not have the coercive power of taxation. So if you want to pay for curb cuts for the handicap, you can do that. Society would do that. What they do is pass a guideline and say, we're going to do this. Now we want contributions. And people can choose whether or not they want to contribute. And if people don't contribute enough, the society has to do what you and I do. We tighten our belts. We do what we can. And this would work across the board, not just for charity, but also think of banking regulations. Society would set the rules for banking regulations, saying, for example, no fractional reserve banking. It's a guideline. It's not a law. So you can, if you want to, practice fractional reserve banking, but you cannot say that you follow society's guidelines. People who do follow society's guidelines for cleanliness, for, I don't care, you could do whatever feel-good law that you like. If you follow all those rules, you could say, I'm approved by society. But if you don't, you could say, I do fractional banking. Oh, okay, well, you can't say that you're society approved. People could still go to your bank, but they're going in knowing that you practice fractional reserve banking. So this is what society would do. It would do any interactions between people, any societal things, helping the poor, regulation, whatever it may be, on and on and on. And separation of society and state, because otherwise we're going to get bankrupt. People are going to be digging into the bottomless pockets. And I can go on. There are other concepts in that book. You ought to read it. Atlas Snubbed and it's available on Amazon. I have that book out there for free on the web, and it doesn't have an easy URL. But if you check in with me, I'll send it to you. I'll make sure that it gets out on my website as well.
Well,
Now,
it's definitely something that I'd like to have on my shelf. That's something that it sounds like you probably got a digital version that people can pick up, which is, great to have the info. But like, man, this Atlas Snub just sounds like something that would look really good on my bookshelf, to be honest.
Yep.
So,
and it's available at Amazon and everything like that. But if you drop me a line, I'll send you the link to the free version out on the web. Now,
you hear that, everybody? That's out to you. That's out to the audience. If you want to read Atlas Snubbed by Ken Krawchuk, all you got to do is send him a DM, and he'll make sure that you get that. And it sounds like a great book. But
no, I got to thank you for going overtime with me. There's been a lot, and there's a lot of other issues I would like to talk about. I have a unique solution for the abortion crisis, but that'd take me another 5 minutes. We'll just skip that. You go to my website and read all about it. But what I'd like to
guys,
do
everybody,
is just close by
everybody go to the website.
KenK4PA.com. But one thing that I want to say in closing is that I want to address the elephant in the room. People say, Ken, I love your ideas. We should educate our kids. We should privatize the schools. We should get cant licenses. We should make it easy for people to get on the ballot. But Ken, face it, you're not going to get elected. Whoa, 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 whoa. Hold it. I can get elected this year. It's in the cards because the two old parties have done us a favor. They have alienated so many voters that most voters are not going to vote this year. Historically, it's been 35%, 40%, maybe it could hit the upper 40% range. So that means that all we need to secure a libertarian governor this year is to attract the vote of 1 out of 6 voting age Pennsylvanians. 1 out of 6 is enough to stop their tricks. So if you're sitting at a table with 5 guys, they're like, oh, that guy Ken, he's an idiot. And you're like, no, no, no. 1 in 6 is all it takes. So I'm asking you to get out there and please spread the word. There's a way to escape your zip code when it comes to schools. There's a way to reduce the size of government in Pennsylvania. There's a way to stop all those easy to cheat mail-in ballots. So please vote for me, Ken Krawchuk, Libertarian for Pennsylvania governor. Because if people keep on voting the way they've been voting, they're going to keep on getting just what they've been getting. And I don't know about you, but I have had enough. KenK4PA.com. Michael, thank you for the chance to be here. It's been wonderful.
Thank you, Ken. And thanks. I'm glad that your schedule was what it was. We can thank Toastmasters for being able to refine your ability to just speak. And once we saw the audience numbers start climbing, 25 minutes into this thing, we decided to go for a double header. So thank you for joining us, everybody. Seriously, if you can spare $5 or more from Ken Krawchuk, that helps a lot. I $5 minimum in my head. I just think that's an ad for a day. Like that's what I would do. That's what I advise candidates to do when I have conversations like with Ken. I talk to candidates off these interviews too. Just making sure like fundraising is the biggest thing that we need to level up, guys. And I know that like when it comes to your own pocket, we're all very sensitive about that right now because times are not easy, but volunteering always helps. Like there's so much that we can do in our local communities. And if there's any number of you guys out in Pennsylvania, shoot him a DM, shoot him an email. He wants to hear from you, even if it's just, hey, I support you. You're going to have my vote. Please give Ken Krawchuk some steam. We love these candidates. This is a great election season. And we're going to be back again tomorrow at 4 p.m. Pacific for another one. So thank you, Ken, for your time. Appreciate the hell out of having you here. This is a great conversation. And your website, man, there's always going to be more things getting added to it. I get that. But in its state right now, if anybody has any questions about anything that we missed, it's all there. Like, it's all there. It's a good site. So thank you, everybody. have a great night, and thank you, Ken, for your time again here.
Thank you.